if you had to give us a prediction like you did last time, I mean, you were spot on. So no pressure or anything. With this new strain, what is your prediction? What is 2021 look like?
Well, like I said, my concern isn't this strain particular.
You are now tuning in to Kickspot with Jinu Park and Migs.
How you been, man?
I've been okay. Everything's good. How about you?
Good. Did you shave your head?
I did. Yeah. It was like one of those things that it was getting like Einstein, like because my hair just ends like it kind of sucks because I don't get like a fro or anything. I just get like straight up hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's just, oh man. So eventually I was just like, all right, I can't deal with this. And so I pretty much bicked my head.
Does it stick out?
Yeah. It just sticks straight out. Yeah. It just looks like it looks like I put my finger into an electric socket.
That's crazy. Do you have thick hair?
No, it's actually really, really thin. It's like really fine.
That's interesting because I have thin hair. A lot of people assume that I have thick hair because I put a lot of product on, but
okay,
mine just like falls over if I don't put anything on. It's actually really, really flat. So I have to create some volume on it, but.
Well, it's also weird too because I kind of get this like crusted the clown look where it goes up here and then goes out, and then there's like nothing really here, so I kind of get the like flopping down because like this section flops.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's and I don't like product in my hair, so I try and avoid that. Otherwise, I know it'd work, but you know, I don't like the feeling of it.
You don't want the women chasing after you. I get it.
No, I don't. It's a really good woman repellent. You know.
Oh, geez.
It's always good. Yeah. So, how's the Kickspot going? Is it kind of increasing in viewership, and how's all that going for you guys?
Yeah, it's still slow and steady for us. You know, we put it on hold for a couple weeks, especially during the holidays. And
yeah, me too.
With COVID and everything too, we like to do in-person interviews. That's the reason why during that time we wanted to fly up to Sacramento.
Yeah.
But with COVID and everything, I mean, it getting worse. We're struggling to get people to actually meet up, and I understand. Like, I don't want to put other people in danger. They don't want to put me in danger. So I'm thinking that we have to shift more into the virtual thing, like what we're doing right now for a while. But I just like, you know, just having it where everybody's just all together, and then, you know, we just kind of laugh, and I can see their nonverbal cues and everything, but it's a little difficult.
Yeah, especially because like one of the things you have to adjust for when I'm doing all my virtual stuff is you have to wait for someone to like pause. Like, you know, whereas like when you're in the room, you can kind of laugh or just kind of say something as someone else is talking. And it doesn't sound weird, but like when you're recording it and you try and do that in, you know, a recording and just like someone gets, both of you get muffled out and no one can hear anything. It's just, Yeah, you gotta make sure your connection's good. Yeah, it's first world problems for us. I know. Oh my, right? I can't interview people. I can't talk to people over the internet.
Yeah, yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody that's listening or watching, we are the Kickspot, and I say we because it's typically with myself and my co-host Migs, but he is not here. He is out on vacation, enjoying life right now, away from people. So that's nice. I should have brought a drink as well too, but actually shouldn't, because I'm actually trying to do a cleanse for a month.
Okay.
Well, sorry. I'm on my second week right now.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I was going to wait for an entire month. I've been running like 5 miles, 3 or 4 days a week.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, man.
Playing basketball, I actually injured my finger. Just got it x-rayed, and there's like a little fracture on this thing, so I got to go back.
Ugh.
Just found out yesterday. So can't lift anything, play basketball, but the running I could still do. So
yeah.
Been trying to be active.
I remember someone in my cross country team was he was adamant he couldn't run because his pinky was broken because he got hit by a car or something. That's the only thing that like hurt him. But like for weeks, he just didn't want to run because his pinky was broken. We made fun of him a lot for that.
Oh wow! I mean, I have every excuse. I got the middle finger like this, so if I, create a fist.
Yeah.
I've got an excuse.
You got an excuse.
So for those listeners, we got Ryan on the call or the webcam. If you guys have heard the previous episode, we talked about COVID and where that was heading, and he hit it right on the spot. I mean, during the time when we recorded that, you'd predicted all these COVID cases during the wintertime. And fast forward now, I mean, I didn't understand the magnitude of what you were talking about, and then now it's present, right?
Yeah.
And there's just so much going on in the world. I mean, I just checked today, 2.86 million cases in California, and then 31,664 deaths in California, and then worldwide 23.2 million cases and 386 deaths.
When I was looking at the Johns Hopkins tracker, which is I use, worldwide we're looking at 2 million deaths and roughly around 350.
Wait, 2 million deaths?
2 million deaths, yeah, worldwide.
Oh wow! What did I get? I get my stats then.
Yeah,
I thought 386,000.
That's for the U.S.
Oh, that's probably U.S. Yeah,
that's the U.S. Yeah, so the U.S. is has been hovering around 20 to 15% of worldwide deaths, despite being 4% of the world population. So we're making sure we're staying on top of that.
Yeah, and during your research, I mean, what have you seen recently?
Yeah, so the obvious thing that everyone's talking about is these new strains, and we're talking about how I was making these predictions about the winter coming and stuff like that, and unfortunately I kind of have some more warning because I have good news and bad news, really. And the good news is this UK strain, we can still handle it. It's still within the realm of handling. And there are a lot of new strains, actually. There's, strains in South America or, South Africa and Japan. And there are like some new strains in the US. And to be honest, there are, this virus throughout the world has about 2,000 different variants of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, a lot of those don't really do anything, because the variant can be that where it's mutated or something like that could be in a position that really doesn't matter. So that's fine that there's 2,000 of them. And this new UK strain actually has 23 separate mutations on it, which is where we're starting to kind of become a little bit frightened about it. So I guess the best way that I've been able to make some analogies, or I've read an analogy, which was every single mutation is like a scar. And then that virus will pass that scar onto their children. And you can imagine after all these scars kind of build up, the virus will look very, very different, within a year from where it is currently. So the big issue with that is that eventually we will reach a point where this virus will be resistant towards the antibodies that we have with the vaccine. We're not there yet, but I kind of have a prediction that if things are going the way they are and we don't handle this over this next summer, there is a good chance that we're going to have some sort of strain that will be antibody resistant, and we're going to be back to square one with creating a new vaccine.
Really? So let's talk about the vaccine, right? So
sure.
There's two that was authorized by the FDA, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. So I, just coming from me, I'm one of those skeptics that say, hey, I want everybody else to take it. 6 months down the line, if you look deformed, you take that risk, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know, I'm the guy that doesn't take flu shots. I just don't like going to the hospital. I struggled today just even getting medical records transferred over to Kaiser because I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I even went to the hospital yesterday with my finger, and they were like, go to the x-ray place, and I was like, hey, where is that? I don't know. I just don't like hospitals. I don't like anything to do with like medical industry, just because I just want to just do things naturally. I don't even like taking Advil or just prescriptions in general.
Yeah.
And it's nothing bad about other people like that do it. It's just that's just how I grew up. My dad always told me, you got to do it the natural way. You got a fever, he told me to run. I just sweat it out, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well,
but,
my tradition is spicy ramen.
Oh, really? When you have a fever?
Just burn it out, just napalm it out. There used to be this place, Nagomin Rami in New Jersey, and every time I would get sick, I would just go and eat the spiciest miso ramen I could find there. And
you would just sweat it out, and then
the next day, it was just like I felt like a new person.
Oh man, I would just put blankets all over me, and I would just sweat it out. Or I have actually run, and actually that does help too.
Yeah.
Out, and then like everything just flowing. So I'll just force myself to run.
Yeah, like light exercise, light to medium exercise. Like obviously you don't want to be like thrown up or anything like that, but light to medium exercise does seem to help out with recovery and when you're sick and your immune system.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the vaccine, right? In your opinion of what you've seen so far, is it 100% effective? And should people trust the vaccine? And then also, I guess a follow-up is, which vaccine do you like more?
Yeah, those are some great questions. In my podcast, Bourbon and Tea, if anyone wants to really get into the nitty gritty of this, because obviously I have 2.5 hours of content looking at this over the course of 2 episodes. So trying to, condense into a 1-minute bite is going to be difficult. But essentially, the vaccines aren't 100% effective. No vaccine is. It never has been. And when people get sick and they recover from this, they're not 100% immune. And so I think people unfortunately have confused the immune system with the word immunity. Mm-hmm. Because whenever you recover, you basically generate antibodies. And those antibodies will try their best to fight the virus, and you'll become resistant. You'll be highly resistant. So, the analogy I like to say is like, okay, well, if it takes 1,000 viral particles to infect you for the first time, well, maybe the second time, maybe it's going to take 10,000 or 20,000. But there is going to be, eventually, the virus can overload your system and you will become sick again. So, antibodies is just a tool, and that's what vaccines do, is they are giving you a tool to fight the virus without giving you the virus. Now, right now, you're right that we have 2 different vaccines with Moderna and Pfizer. And those ones, the technology, which is called the mRNA vaccines, have been quite controversial because they're kind of a new technology and all this other stuff. But what's really interesting is when I researched it, a lot of the concerns that people have had over the years with, anti-vaxxers of, mercury in the vaccines and all this other stuff that people are so concerned with, actually the mRNA vaccine covers all that. So one of the benefits is they don't have to have additives in there. They don't have to have additives in the vaccine to make it more effective, which is one of the things that traditional vaccines need: aluminum hydroxide or other things. One of the other concerns I keep hearing a lot about is, well, if they give you the vaccine, how do we know it's not going to turn into the virus? Because you hear that it's, a weakened virus or something like that. How do you know that it can't reactivate or something like that. Well, the mRNA vaccine isn't a virus. It's just pieces of mRNA that essentially just give your body 1/3 of one of the 30 proteins. So all you're expressing is essentially you're expressing the face of the virus. You're not expressing the brain or any of the reproduction organs or anything like that. You're just expressing the face so your body can recognize it. So a lot of these concerns and stuff like that people have about vaccines in general, it's kind of interesting that the mRNA vaccine, actually, that technology addresses all of these concerns I've heard.
So which one do you prefer?
Well, between Moderna and Pfizer, I mean, they're pretty much the same thing. It's the same technology. I don't have any preference. They're both 94.5% effective, right? So they're essentially the same thing. There's two main differences, one of which is that the Pfizer vaccine requires 30 micrograms of a vaccine, whereas the Moderna requires 100 micrograms as far as dosage.
Yeah.
So you are getting 1/3 of the dosage with the Pfizer. However, there are a lot of infrastructure benefits because we've heard about all these, intense freezers that we need for the Pfizer and all that, keeping it -80 degrees Celsius, which is, liquid nitrogen cold. And so that makes it difficult to get to rural areas and other places that don't have these freezers. And especially, what I'm concerned with is treatment of third world countries. That's what my big focus right now is. And so the Moderna one is stable at -20 degrees. So even though you need a higher dosage, but you don't need to handle it as carefully. So there's pros and cons to both, but I think it just kind of levels out. Now if you want to talk about the Chinese vaccine or Oxford or the Russian one, those are completely different vaccines that I've covered in my podcast as far as, detailing the difference between each one. But, people aren't really going to see those. And, if you want, I can go over kind of some of the main stories that people are going to hear and like scare stories or headlines or something like that are attributed to like the Chinese vaccine or something like that.
Well, let's go into that because
sure.
In the US, obviously it takes the FDA to approve a vaccine. And then I'm sure that other countries have different regulations and rules. Do all the people talk around the world and say, hey, this is what the vaccine should be, and then administers it? Or is it more, hey, we have our rules, they have their rules. Some of the vaccines might not be as effective. I mean, I could see politically where, the government would want to make money of some sort in that sense. So, I mean, we pushed it out pretty fast. And I think for our country, we have the resources to be able to do that. But from also political standpoint, to make money from financial sense, I could see them pushing it a lot faster. So I don't know which one's the most effective, but I guess just to kind of sum the question up, is everybody working together to create that same vaccine, or is it all different standards?
Yeah, the only real organization that has kind of an international standard would be the WHO, or also COVAX, which is an international cooperation group that is kind of created in the European countries. Unfortunately, the US hasn't agreed to join it, which I can't really wrap my head around. But essentially, COVAX is kind of that standard, that international standard that you're talking about. As far as every individual has their own regulations, which is why, England was first to approve, and then, other countries kind of jumped on board. And the US was actually one of the few countries that didn't jump on board. They were a few weeks later than the other countries. So I did have a fear, to be honest, in September and August about kind of these vaccines being pushed through for political reasons and elections and stuff like that. But what I really realized is I have a few colleagues and friends that work at the FDA, and the one thing that they told me, unfortunately, they couldn't speak publicly about any of this, but the one thing that they said is no one's going to take the vaccine if we, fuck this up, really. So if we put out a vaccine and someone gets hurt or it's incorrect or something like that, then we've lost this fight. Because let's be honest, a lot of this science right now, the biggest battle is PR. Getting the message across to every individual and allowing every individual to understand what's going on. And when you see someone getting injured or, having a reaction or something like that, you're already fighting the uphill battle. So they did their best to make sure it's correct. And the Trump administration did put pressure on them to expedite it, but a lot of the scientists threatened to resign. So that resignation and that threatening of those scientists is what gave me a little bit more confidence that they were taking it very seriously. So
you had mentioned that it was 94.5% effective. Are there other vaccines around the world that are actually more effective?
Not really. 90, 94, 95 is pretty much as high as we can get. Nothing's, like I said, nothing's going to be 100%. So, when everything was first going on and when we last spoke, I actually was thinking that these vaccines would be more around how effective the flu vaccine is, which is around 60 to 75%. I couldn't have predicted that this vaccine was going to be this effective. So it's pretty great. We can talk about Russia's Sputnik, which after Moderna and Pfizer and a lot of these other companies, they're like, oh, we're 95% too, but we haven't really seen any of the data. So not really clear on how effective that one is, or, the Chinese or some of these other countries that don't really have the transparency that we do.
So when we talk about the flu virus, I mean, from an outsider's perspective, like I said, I don't know much about the medical industry. I was told that they put the actual flu inside of you, and then your body tries to fight it. Is that the same, or is that even true actually for the flu?
Well, so we'll take a step back. That's been the tradition since the first smallpox vaccine, which was in the 1700s, right? The first kind of what you could call a vaccine was a guy, I forget exactly if it was, it was a wealthy family that hired this doctor, and the doctor noticed that certain people had smallpox resistance. And I think I forget if it was some sort of servant or, gardener or something like that had smallpox. And he punctured one of the kind of smallpox things and took that fluid and rubbed it on the child and gave the child smallpox. But but the fluid itself had a very weakened smallpox virus in it, because that fluid contained a lot of immune system fighting the virus. So that part of it was already weakened. So the kid got sick, the kid got smallpox, but wasn't nearly as severe as the real smallpox. And, we took that technology, we took that method with scientific creation. We were able to completely eradicate smallpox by the 1960s, and smallpox killed 30% of people infected. So, that kind of idea and that theory has been a tried and true method. Now, fast forward to the flu vaccine and all these other vaccines, what we do is we actually go in and we intentionally grow either the vaccine or something like that in a cell line, say dog or egg or something like that, where they have the cells, and we grow it in these cells, and it essentially makes it so it is optimized for those cells, and then we give it back to the people. And essentially what we're doing is we're creating a virus that is optically very similar. Like, it still has a face, your body can still recognize it and stuff like that, but it cannot replicate in your own body because it's been optimized to work in other cell lines. If that kind of makes sense. So essentially what we're doing is we're giving you essentially a crippled virus, a crippled version where, we take away its ability to infect you effectively. We take away its ability to replicate. We take away all these abilities, and then we give you that vaccine. And so on a technical sense, you are correct, but it's there's a lot of safety protocols to make sure that it can't replicate inside of human people.
So is that the same process for the COVID vaccine?
So that's what is different. There are vaccines out there that are similar, but the majority of the COVID vaccines, we don't do that. We're using these mRNA type things, which is essentially all it is a piece that your body requires to recognize the virus. And in China, that Chinese vaccine is what they do is instead of giving you the RNA that would essentially make this, they're just giving you that one protein that you need to recognize the virus. And so the idea is that, well, why do we need to give you the whole virus when all we need to do is give you, essentially, I like to say facial recognition, right? So why can't we just give you the face of the virus so you can recognize it later?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so they haven't, because they found this new strand, they haven't been able to do that with the new strand with the old vaccine, correct? Or the current vaccine?
Well, like I said, a lot of these mutations are kind of, every single time you get a mutation, you get a scar. And eventually that scar is going to make the virus look completely different. We're not there yet. So the vaccine and the antibodies are still very effective towards this new strain. So, I've seen a lot of, WebMD and other stuff that people have sent me say super virus and stuff like that. I'm like, no, this isn't a super virus. It's more contagious. What's
the difference between the super virus versus this?
Well, it's to me that term is just kind of stupid. I don't really, maybe Ebola is a super virus because it turns your insides to liquid, right? So, there's a lot worse things that I would reserve for the word super. When this virus mutates to the point of our antibodies no longer being able to recognize it, then I might say super. But even then, until our mortality rate goes up, we can reserve super for some more deadly stuff. So I guess my point is that the general public doesn't need to be super concerned with this particular strain. It is going to make containing it more difficult though, because it is more infectious, which means that you're not going to be able to spend as much time between two people. So, earlier with this strain that we've had, we've actually had several different strains that just the news never reported on. So this is like, version 3 already. But essentially, if we could spend 10 or 15 minutes face-to-face talking, now it's probably reduced to about 5. So we should adjust our social protocols to adjust for this this new strain, because this new strain did spread during a UK lockdown, whereas the previous strain didn't spread in the UK lockdown. So we do need to kind of rethink that. But until the virus becomes resistant towards our antibodies that we're generating when we get sick or we get vaccinated, then I don't think we really need to be like crapping our pants yet.
You mentioned that it was during a lockdown. So where do you think that virus, it just mutated from somebody, or is it, from something that happened? Yeah.
So, the way that I kind of describe this is that anytime you have a child, there's random mutations. and it doesn't have to come from you. It's just the process of replicating 3 billion different, pieces of DNA. Essentially, you have 3 billion different building blocks and you have to replicate every single one of them perfectly. So, there's about 1 in 1,000 chance that you have random mutations anytime your cells replicate, which is how you get cancer. And your cancer cell, your cells are always replicating, and eventually you get cancer. Same thing with the virus. The virus has a mutational rate. Now, thankfully, so far, the mutation rate of this virus is about 1/2 of influenza and 1/2 of HIV, which are traditionally the viruses that we are having the most trouble with fighting, because as soon as we create a cure for them, they mutate to adapt to that, which is why you need a new flu vaccine every year, is because, this mutational rate. But, taking that math into account, you need a new flu vaccine every year. Well, because it mutates, 1/2 of that is about 2 years for COVID. So, and the other thing too is every single person that gets infected is another chance for this virus to mutate. So, I think it's very, very critical that people care about not getting this virus, even if they are asymptomatic, even if they have mild symptoms, even if they are healthy, even if all this other stuff. There's other things like, the virus is causing lungs to be more damaged than the smoker's lung. We have blood clotting. People's limbs are getting amputated. If you have any sort of blood flow, there's so many different ways that you could have a really bad reaction without you knowing. But besides all of those chances, people need to start thinking about this. Well, death isn't your only option.
Yeah.
And you can still get really messed up, and every single person that gets infected, this virus has a chance to mutate.
So do you think that this is going to be like a yearly vaccination, just like the flu?
I hope not. So this is kind of why I'm starting up my podcast again. So, I wrapped season 1 at the end of, right before Christmas, and we're starting up season 2. And, our main focus for season 2 is getting out the words that we don't have to be vaccinated every year, but if this keeps going, we will, every year, maybe even 2 years, who knows, but this summer is going to be the most critical time to get rid of this virus. And I believe it's possible. I do think that with strong leadership, strong communication of what people should do, and not only what you should do, but why, explaining why it's important.
Yeah.
That way people can make their own decisions. Like you said, you like to make your own decisions. People aren't robots. So we do need to kind of tell them, well, we do need to minimize people from being infected, because the more people that get infected, the higher the risk for a new strain to develop. And then all the people that did survive the first run, they're now going to be susceptible again. So I guess to answer your question, I really hope not. And I think it's possible that over the summer, if everyone bands together, we can get rid of this and we can snuff it out, just like we snuffed out smallpox, just like we're about to snuff out polio. Polio will hopefully be eradicated by 2023. We can eradicate this, but we still need to keep vigilant.
You sent me like a visual of some sort.
Yeah.
What was that exactly?
So that visual is essentially what I've been talking about, is how rapidly this virus is mutating. And the virus itself, so what that graph is showing you is it's showing you different positions on the virus's genome. So every as it goes from the inside to the outside, it's numbered 1 to I think it's something like 30,000. And so every little speck on that is a mutation at that position. And then the color of it is is where these mutations are happening, where they're finding these strains, and then how intense those colors are, how many different mutations are happening at that positions. So as you can kind of see with that visual, you start off with really, really dim light, and as we're kind of transmitting through the year and into this winter, it's getting brighter and brighter.
You talk about this the strain like it's like not that big, but I pulled up an article from New York Post, and it was titled "Newly Identified Strain of COVID in U.S. May be Most Contagious." So is that just because of the spread, but it doesn't necessarily do as much damage, or what's the case?
So luckily, we are lucking out that it's creating some of the same symptoms. We know how to treat it. We know how to kind of do it. And this is just kind of on that perspective that what I was saying, which is that, yes, now instead of spending 15 minutes with someone face to face, you might only be able to spend 5. So that's what that contagious part is. But, to be honest, reading the scientific literature, scientists, just because it's more contagious just means it'll spread faster. And it'll affect more people, which is really sad, obviously. But we're kind of dodging the bullet on the fact that the shoe hasn't dropped in the way that it's more deadly.
Yeah.
Or that, it's antibody resistance. Those are the two things that scientists are really concerned with. I think that brings up a really good point, because there's a difference between the timeline that some people are concerned with, which is, the immediate future 1 to 2 weeks, and the future that the scientists are concerned with, right now, all of our focus is preventing more mutations, and hopefully that we can get rid of this virus by this summer. Because if we don't, again, there's a good possibility we will have eventually a strain that is going to be antibody resistant or more deadly. And also with how far this virus has mutated, we are going to see this more and more often. So this is going to become more and more frequent.
So when you say that you want everything to go back to normal in the summertime, there's going to be a strain regardless, though, is what you're saying.
Well, what I mean by going back to normal is I guess what I meant is I hope by fall that, enough people will be vaccinated that we can reach that herd immunity. But over the summer, even though it seems okay to go outside, and people are going to be healthier because they're going to be outside, they're going to be exercising. When you're outside, you don't get as heavy as a viral dosage, I guess we'll say. So, the symptoms and all this other stuff are going to be less. So it's not going to be nearly as scary this summer. But if we continue to allow the virus to spread, is going to prepare us for a winter in 2021 that possibly could be worse than the current one now.
So if I was to get the vaccine and I'm in contact with somebody that has a new strain, what happens to me?
Well, you should be resistant. I mean, obviously, the other thing that a lot of scientists are trying to say is, even though you're vaccinated, you could probably have a little bit more mobility, like, hanging out, but none of us are still recommending people eating indoors over the summer, even with vaccinations. We still think you need to wear a mask. You can still get sick. And actually, one of the things that might happen with these vaccines, because it was seen in the trials, was that people can be the vaccines themselves are reducing severity, but they're not making people completely immune to getting the virus. So there are a good chance that, someone that's vaccinated can get it, be asymptomatic, and pass it on. So that's kind of the reason that a lot of these scientists are saying, hey, let's keep wearing masks even though we're vaccinated, because we need to keep wearing masks. We need to keep doing this until the virus is gone.
I don't mind the masks at all. I actually dig the masks, to be quite honest.
I mean, it allows you to be a little bit, unique and stuff like that. So, hey, go for it.
I mean, I was used to it in Asia, so I don't know why. And that it was because of pollution in Asia, but
I
live in LA, Orange County, where there's a lot of pollution. So it's not a bad idea just to even wear it for that reason.
Yeah. Well, if I can give a quick statistic, I remember there was an article about red meat, processed red meat, and how it was saying, 30,000 people a year were being attributing colon cancer to red meat, to process, well, not red meat, but processed meat, like, burgers and really, really terrible.
That's what I was told.
Yeah. So, but that's 30,000. Well, 250,000 cases of cancer come from alcohol, and 500,000, if I remember, I'm pretty sure this number is correct, but around 500,000 cases of cancer come from air pollution. So, air pollution and smoking is actually really, and just other pollutions, water pollution, pollution's a huge thing.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, it's so nasty here whenever it rains or whatever. I mean, just my porch right now. I just moved down to Orange County, I think 3 months ago, and it's black. That's how bad it is. It's
man,
horrible. I set up a patio and everything outside. I'm like, I'm just gonna hang out here on my porch, and then 3 months later, I look out and I'm like, I'm never gonna use that porch ever again. It's gonna be my storage space.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Last time, I mean, you were spot on. So no pressure.
Yeah.
With this new strain, what is your prediction? What does 2021 look like?
Well, like I said, my concern isn't this strain particular. Obviously, we have to address it appropriately with we have to adjust our protocols. In fact, I was reading an article that we haven't really adjusted our medical protocols since September, which I think is, we need to be revising that every month. But I'm not really concerned with this strain. I am concerned with the children of this strain. So my prediction is, if this continues to run rampant, if we still have, by the end of the year, if we have, something like, how many million people are infected now? Something like overall, like 20, 30 million people overall have been infected.
In the US?
No, just worldwide.
I think I got 23.2 million, but I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, if this year we have another 23 million infected, we're probably going to have a new strain. And unfortunately, that means that people are going to be susceptible again, and we're going to be back to square one. So that's my prediction. If we lose focus over the summer when case numbers go down.
I will add a prediction in there.
Sure.
And I will say that I think that it will get worse. Only because there's this like misconception, in my opinion. I don't know if these are facts, but these are things that we read, last year, where if you're in an area where it's hot, that you can't get COVID, right? And I feel like that was false. I don't know, because I felt like everybody came to California, everybody came to Florida, and look at these two states.
Yeah,
like, it was the worst.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's just, I don't know if that's true or not. But if it comes down to the summertime, I just have a good feeling people are gonna still want to come to California, especially in Orange County, because everything is still open here, even though they're supposed to shut down. So I don't know. I
would agree with that. I mean, I guess me myself, the thing is I know if my prediction is correct again, I know where this is going, and I really don't want to be right. So maybe I'm just trying to trick myself into believing that, you know, with the new administration and, you know, with the impact of this winter, I'm hoping people will, at least the majority of the people, this is like treating them as a slap in the face. Be like, you know, get your shit together.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really hoping that, because I'm tired of being right. And I personally can, you know, this is the first time people have ever listened to me. Because I used to be this like nerd at a party that was like, oh yeah, mutational rate, like viruses, oh this, you know, cool. And now everyone's listening to me. I'm like, I really can't wait to go back to being irrelevant.
Yeah. I don't know. If I saw you at a party, I would find you intriguing. I like learning in general. So
yeah.
If people have something that I don't know much of, I want to look at and investigate, and I want to study it. It's just always been my personality. So I find it very, very interesting. You know?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm being a little exaggerative there, but.
Oh no, I believe it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting too, because like I mentioned, like with the sun and everything and the heat, there's a lot of people that travel down to Mexico. Yeah, I feel like that's the only place that people are going to, because that's the only place that's open for us to travel. So I don't know. I was guilty. I went to Tulum, I don't know, last year.
Yeah.
Last year, and you could tell the beach parties, nobody was wearing a mask. And
yeah,
you know, I look at my Instagram and I see a lot of people still in Tulum just partying, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends in Costa Rica that are going to beach parties and stuff like that. So, you know, and that also, if we have enough time, I kind of want also put out this warning too, is that, unfortunately we have a lot to worry about, but we should always be very worried with third world countries, or, you know, wherever the proper term is for that, because, you know, right now, 14% of the wealthiest population has purchased 90% of the vaccines till 2024. 10 countries in Africa don't have a single ventilator. Wow. You know, and so, like I said, it's only a matter of time until a new strain emerges. And so that's why I've really shifted a lot of my kind of goals and stuff like that, to awareness about how beneficial it will be to actually, for, you know, and like in the selfish terms, how protective it would be to actually help out other countries that can't afford medical supplies or vaccines, because we're going to have enough vaccines here probably by the end of 2021, maybe 2022, to vaccinate everyone multiple times. And a lot of those are going to go to waste. So, you know, once we kind of, I mean, I think we should be doing it before we're taken care of, but I can understand people's opinions to do it before, you know, like to take care of ourselves before we take care of others. But that's also where a lot of these strains are going to be popping up, is in some sort of third world country, and it can spread from there if we're not helping those countries out with these medical supplies. And so it's a very selfish, altruistic approach, but you know, it's not a US problem, it's a global problem. And I feel that this country, while we are going through an economic crisis, the whole world is, and we have enough economics here and stuff like that to be able to assist other countries. And for me personally, I think it's a responsibility. And, you know, I'm not talking about forcing any country to take anything, but at least giving them the option to take it.
And I didn't even think about that. I mean, Costa Rica is such a beautiful country too. I had visited about 2 years ago. So I could only imagine a lot of tourists also going down there too. And
yep.
There's a strain. I mean, And more than likely, there probably will be a strain in those countries. So that'll be scary because then it'll come back regardless. So even if it's not from a humanity standpoint and people want to look at it from a selfish standpoint, well, if you want to go vacation there, you might as well help everybody else out too while you're at it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that's honestly, so a little bit of personal thing here is, I have progressive vision loss. So I'm probably going to be completely blind within the next 10 years. So this virus for me is also really difficult because these were the years that I had planned to travel the most to countries where it's really difficult vision. Like I wanted to go hiking all these mountains and I'm a big rock climber and blah, blah, blah. So every year that passes is a year that I can't go out and kind of take advantage of my vision while I can. And so for me, I have two kind of things as far as taking the vaccine as soon as I can. And, I'm going to as soon as it becomes available to me. One of which is to travel again. I just can't wait to do that. But then there's also the idea that it's going to be more difficult for someone that is unhealthy to take or at risk, like an elderly or something like that. It's going to be harder on their system to become vaccinated. Yeah. So I'm healthy. I'm, in my 30s. So why, I should probably be taking this vaccine and taking the hit. And I've been kind of thinking of the famous phrase from JFK, it's not what your country can do for you, it's what you can do for your country. And that's kind of what I'm seeing as a civic service, if you're able to, right? And there's people with severe allergies that can't take it, severe immunities, obviously follow the correct guidelines and only take it if you're within the strict groups that can take it right now. But, that's kind of my opinion on that.
Well, it's a valid opinion. I mean, it's very noble. And hopefully everything goes back into place so that you could go visit all the countries that you want to visit,
Yeah.
7 wonders of the world.
Yeah. Machu Picchu, man.
That's what I want to do. I want to do the Machu Picchu hike.
Yeah.
I want to do it like the actual hike, not like I heard there's the ones where you could just pay somebody and then go up real quick.
Oh yeah, they give you a piggyback.
Yeah,
all the way up, man.
Yeah.
Oh man,
yeah. Something like that. But I'd rather just hike it. And,
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing for Mount Everest too.
My duty in the woods,
Yeah. I was speaking of that. I was paying people. I was reading that Mount Everest is having they're having poop avalanches because people are just paying. Like there's so many people traveling out there that they're just leaving poop, and then poop avalanches happen in Mount Everest or something like that. It was kind of wild.
It's like defrosted as it goes down.
Yeah. Just like you're out base camping, just a brown avalanche coming towards you.
Oh, yeah. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, any other last words that you have here?
Yeah, if I could, I want to plug a few things. So, obviously I want to plug my Bourbon and Tea podcast, which is on Spotify and a lot of other things. Like I said, if you want more in-depth information as far as the types of vaccines and what's in the actual vaccines, I go into a lot of that. You can check out episodes 6 and 7 from there. And I also talk about another episode of peptide designed peptides, which might be kind of a new medical treatment, and we're hoping that this could be a completely revolutionary way to be able to treat people with individualized medicines with designed peptides that we can make on the spot for you. So there's that stuff, but we're launching season 2 at the end of January. So we have a lot more content about blood clotting, heart inflammation. And we're also going to be trying to throw in some more fun episodes where instead of just going over facts, we're also going to be maybe having some drinks and having a conversation about the facts after we kind of lay them all out. So I'm really, really excited to diversify. The first season, I'm going to be honest, I was learning everything. So there are some rough episodes in there. but I think we got this down, and I'm really excited. The other thing I need to plug here is I'm collaborating with the Global Health Impact, which is an organization that rates different drugs in different companies and countries on essentially how many lives they're saving by providing medicine to impoverished countries. And they really focus on, tuberculosis and malaria and a lot of these other diseases that we don't concern ourselves with. So I'm going to be working with them to do some podcasts this spring. And we're really excited. That's going to be launching between February and May. And then eventually, over the summer, we're going to kind of continue that as well. But that's what's planned right now. That one is much more lecture based. And so we have, some of the top scientists that's going to give kind of a short lecture, and then we're going to have a conversation about it. So we have some fun stuff. We have some straight information stuff, and so I hope we can keep everyone informed.
Awesome. Well, if you guys want to learn more about Ryan's endeavors, I mean, you got so many things. You got bourbon and tea and some other things going on. Feel free to look at the description below, and then Ryan, we're gonna just shoot some links below on our social media sites. So that people can, follow and listen. And then remember that our Instagram is _Kickspot. And I haven't done this in like 4 weeks. It seems like get back into it. Yeah. So, but yeah, follow our Instagram at _Kickspot. And then if you're on the YouTube, make sure you do the deed and subscribe and follow and comment and share and do all those things. And, let's build everything together.
Thank you so much for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure. And I'm really happy that you called me right before I was about to kick off season 2, because you called me up right before I kicked off season 1. So maybe we can do a little kickoff interview you every few months, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we're going to have to do this again, because things are going to change, and in the summertime, I'll say, Ryan, you're right again.
Well, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope next time we meet, we can just talk about football.
Absolutely. All right, man. It was great talking to you.
Pleasure. Stay safe.
Thank you for listening to Kickspot.